Hello and welcome to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today, as you no doubt saw from the thumbnail, we are going to be discussing how Watchtower has changed fundamentally as a religion. So when I was growing up, they were this Watchtower machine. Now it appears that they're this JW org machine. I promise I'm not going to get distracted by ZZ at all. It won't even disrupt my thought process in the slightest. Anyway, thank you guys so much for all of the support lately. People have been subscribing a lot more lately to the channel, so I very much appreciate that. Shout out to everyone that has joined the Patreon. If you are a patron, please check your email for an important message, because I want to give people personal shout outs, but I just want to know what name to use or if they want it at all, so please check your email for all of that good stuff. Anyway, we are talking about how Watchtower has changed fundamentally as a religion from the early 80s to 90s to 2000s into the current version we see it now. And I find this subject to be absolutely fascinating because I think we might be getting an indication of where the organization is going. So I'm a person that thinks, you look into the past, you can kind of see at least have some evidence to what the future might look like as well. So with all of that being said, ZZ's here. He has a new toy, finger guns. Stay to the end of the video if you want to know how this toy got here. So to kick off this video, I want to start with something that caught my attention because I watched a video from EXJW Critical Thinker where he was showing a letter that went out to the elders, and in that letter it was talking about how they could be, our elders could be recommending people as early as their early 20s for being an elder. And that kind of just blew my brain, because in my head I always thought, okay, an elder at the very earliest will be like 27. I think that's the earliest I had ever seen. And a ministerial servant, yeah, they could be 17 years old and become a ministerial servant, and that was totally fine, so it wasn't a big deal. Oh, hi ZZ, you almost got it. Keep trying, you'll get there. Anyway, so I just wanted to explore this a little bit and just see how the organization is transitioning. So to kick things off, this comes, I forgot to do the sources again, but I think this was from a governing body letter that they used to send in the old yearbook. So for those that are current witnesses or just came into the organization, you won't even know what a yearbook is, because I think they did away with those in like 2016 or 2017. But anyway, I think this was a governing body letter in the yearbook, and I'm going to have to move off camera slightly because of ZZ, but we will figure this out. It says this. No specific age requirement is stated in the Bible, but in view of the requirement that their own children be in subjection with all seriousness, they being old enough to manifest such seriousness, it may be assumed that elders among the first century Christians were not... Sorry, I get distracted by ZZ too. It may be assumed that elders among the first century Christians were not merely 18 or 19 years of age. This is the worst idea I've ever had in my life.
Let's start over, shall we?
It may be assumed that elders among the first century Christians were not merely 18 or 19 years of age. They had experience in life and had demonstrated that they were wise and understanding men. They are referred to as older men. Timothy himself, to whom Paul was writing, may have been in his early 20s when he was well reported on by the brothers in Lystra and Iconium. But Timothy may have been in his 30s when he was told, "Never lay your hands hastily upon a man, neither be a sharer in the sins of others, preserve yourself chaste." Timothy by this time was fully capable of handling these weighty responsibilities and was showing wisdom in committing to other faithful men that which he had learned, so that they were adequately qualified to teach others. While youth may often think they know all of the answers, it takes time, experience, living with people to gain wisdom. Now, I found this quote really fascinating because it kind of gives you a portal into the mindset that every Jehovah's Witness that grew up in, I guess, the organization from time immemorial, all the way since its very founding up until recently. And when I say up until recently, this letter that, again, thank you to the EXJW Critical Thinker, check out his channel, but he did a video on this whole subject, and that's what it brought to my attention because I wasn't aware of it before. It says this in a recent letter to all elders. Therefore, the governing body requests that all bodies of elders worldwide give priority to helping younger brothers grow in their relationship with Jehovah and qualify for congregation responsibilities. Elders should regularly discuss spiritual goals with younger brothers. Although relatively young in years, exceptional ministerial servants may already be viewed as spiritual older men and qualify as elders in their mid or even early 20s. In due course, the Shepherd Book, which is the Elder's Secret Handbook, will be updated to reflect this direction. So this is a really huge change because you would think that if someone is going to be an elder, and the responsibilities of an elder have a pretty broad spectrum, but you're basically shepherding the flock, or you are enforcing the rules that the governing body makes on a congregation of 100 or so people, between 80 and 200 people, we'll say. It can vary a lot. And you are part of a group of men that's anywhere from 4 to 12. I don't know if I've ever heard of a congregation having more than 12 elders, but 4 to 12 elders, and you are the ones that are enforcing the governing body's rules. These rules include things such as infidelity in marriage. They include rules on what type of entertainment that people choose, what type of medical procedures that they choose, how people dress. They will be counseling someone that has been watching porn when they're clearly probably watching porn themselves. Anyway, you can see the problems with having someone that's 21 years old in the organization that is going to be now in charge of shepherding the flock. And before, they kind of clearly came out and said, yes, Timothy, he was an example, he was well reported on, but it wasn't until he was in his 30s. So that was always the perception for a long time, is like someone's going to be in their 30s. They even say, it's why is it called an older man? Now they're just completely reversing that and saying, as far as older men go, it's all about if they're spiritually an older man. And if they are, then it could be as early as their early 20s. And I can't even imagine what it would look like having an elder body of all 20-something-year-olds. But anyway, more on that point a little bit later, because I think it's going to all tie the larger point that I want to make in this video. So we'll save that to a little bit later. Anyway, let's go on with another thing that has completely changed in the organization. It's absolutely crazy. This is probably one of the most surprising or impactful things when I was a witness that I noticed, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? So that's about worshiping men or celebrity culture. So I'm going to read an article that was published in The Awake. And additionally, Persuade says celebrity worshipers will pattern their values and lifestyle on those of their favorite idol, who is often perceived as incapable of wrongdoing. and as operating under a different set of rules which cannot be understood by ordinary mortals, and for which allowances must be made. So the beginning of this article, they are quoting this psychologist, and he's talking about celebrity culture and people, how they worship people that are celebrities.
Even when I'm 105 and an old grandmother, I love him.
And my eyes just went, what? As soon as I read this. So think about if he's talking about the governing body. He says, will pattern their life values and lifestyle on their favorite idol, who is often perceived as incapable of wrongdoing. That's the governing body. As operating under a different set of rules. That's the governing body. And for which allowances must be made. Sounds like the governing body.
You can't go wrong with it.
So this was an article from the 2000s or the 90s. Sorry, I don't have the sources in here. But that was always the mindset when I was growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And then came the age of JW broadcasting. JW broadcasting brought the governing body right into the spotlight. And as soon as they were right in the spotlight, they became absolute celebrities. A clear example here where Samuel Hurd is literally embracing this celebrity culture that the current governing body members have created, and it's fundamentally shifted from the old days. Now, one other quote that I wanted to bring into the mix is this: before and after Hitler, other political leaders have similarly promoted themselves as savior figures and demanded exclusive devotion. Those who succumbed made gods of these men. That's literally just every single thing you can think about that the current governing body members are doing. They are making gods of themselves. I've made a couple videos on this recently about just how brazen they are getting with elevating themselves above God. Because what does God say? Well, let's look at the Bible. Well, who controls what the Bible says? The governing body. It's so blatantly obvious and in people's faces right now. So this video might go on for like 2 hours if I get quotes for every single subject that I want to talk about. But just know that I did spend some time getting quotes, but at a certain point, we'll probably want to just like speed things along a little bit and you guys kind of get the picture. So I won't be quoting articles directly, but just bringing up different topics in general, if that makes any sense. So another big one is idolatry. So before, if there was a Watchtower symbol on a kingdom hall, Watchtower actually sent out, and this was when I was a witness, because I remember seeing this letter, but there was a letter that was sent out to elders that was basically saying, hey, any new construction project can't have any Watchtower like symbolism on it.
Don't you do it!
And also, like, if something is on the building already, if it's reasonable to do so, you need to clean it up. And so there was a few kingdom halls that had in brick, like actual watchtowers that were built out of brick, and they went in and filled in all of the gaps so that way it didn't look like a watchtower anymore. And then what did they do on those bricks that they filled in because symbolism was bad, because idolatry was unchristian? And how dare people use, the cross as a symbol, or Mother Mary, whatever it might be.
Your tiny Jesus, your golden fleece diapers.
How dare they use that? They went and instructed Jehovah's Witnesses to put a JW.org plaque on every single kingdom hall. And I found this shocking when I was even a witness. It made no sense to me. And if you are a witness at the same time, there's no doubt in my mind that you also thought the same thing. Like, wait, they got done telling us we can't have watchtowers, but now we're supposed to put JW.org on there. And again, I think this is indicating something bigger that I will get to a little bit later. But let's just move on with some of these transitions that aggravated and irritated. I think we all probably can remember the articles decrying what televangelists would do. They're greedy money grubbers just trying to con people and fleece them out of their paycheck. Well, what happened in 2014? The JW broadcast is launched, and bada bing, bada boom, the governing body went full televangelism. Just directly right into Jehovah's Witnesses' faces, and that was an absolute game changer. That was when I was starting to realize, well, everything is changing about the organization. And granted, at that time, I was still a full believing witness, so I was thinking, oh, this is a sign of God's direction. This is a sign of God's blessing. This is when we can really see evidence of this spiritual chariot that the organization likes to call themselves, and how it was moving quickly and you had to keep up with the time.
And there's the snap.
But at the same time, you go back and think, wait, you were decrying televangelists earlier, and now you're just adopting it. You're decrying people that use the internet, and now you're fully adopting it. It's a little bit disingenuous, I guess, from that perspective, but it also just signifies a fundamental shift that the organization has made. Bougie water for your bougie little pleasure. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is cart witnessing. Something that was fundamental to being a Jehovah's Witness when I was growing up was the door-to-door preaching work, and pioneering became infinitely easier as soon as they started doing this cart witnessing bit, because now there was carts everywhere. I think they reported something in, I can't remember exactly, but it was like 170,000 carts went out to different congregations around the world. And so it started just in New York City, and then it exploded and expanded to every congregation. And I find this to be really funny because they always say, oh, our main method of preaching is the door-to-door ministry. And yet pioneers were starting to get most of their time by doing cart witnessing. So cart witnessing became their main method before, obviously everything shut down. But cart witnessing definitely became their main method of preaching. And so I thought that was a big fundamental shift. One of the other ones was magazine production. So I have very, 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 very vague memories of my parents getting the Watchtower in the mail. So they would come in these little white envelopes and everything, and they would get them in their mailbox. So then that shifted, and there was 2 Watchtowers and 2 Awakes every month. And then that shifted to, you're going to pick it up at the Kingdom Hall because we're saving all this money on postage and shipping. And then that became, we're just doing, what was it? We're separating the Watchtower with the study edition and the public edition. So that reduced some of their printing. And then they went to being monthly. So before they were, I'm getting my steps mixed up here. So then they went from, and that was when they were 32 pages, each of them. And then they went to being just 16 pages and mostly filled with artwork. And they went from that, and then I think it transitioned into being every month versus every 2 weeks. So they went from 32 pages every 2 weeks delivered to your mailbox to 16 pages once a month, and you had to pick it up at the Kingdom Hall. And that was like such a huge difference, like when they started cutting down and down and down and down on the actual printed material. They also got rid of the yearbook, and and then I think they've cut it down even farther. So the Watchtower and the Awake, they only get published, once every 3 months now, I believe. So that I'm a bad apostate, I can't even keep track anymore. But I think it's down to once every 3 months, a 16-page thing that's mostly full of pictures and boxes and artwork and things like that. So that is a major shift, because what have they shifted all of their creative energy to? Well, that is to the videos. Yes, videos. Videos have become the single focus of Watchtower of late. Their main goal is to make more and more and more video propaganda. So before, at a meeting, you'd have a lot of people that would get up and give demonstrations for presentations or suggestions for how you can, you knock on someone's door, hey, my name is Wall over here, saying encouraging biblical truth, blah, blah, blah. And you'd actually get on stage and have that from a human being. Now they have these silhouette figures that come in and have this completely unrealistic scenario where someone is accepting a Bible study or a piece of literature, or accepting someone to come back for a return visit. Well, that's a good yawn. Not only is that the case during the meetings, but it's also the case during the assemblies and the conventions. So it used to be almost every single speaker that would come up would have a group of people that he would interview, that would relate an experience, that would do a demonstration. Nowadays, the assemblies and conventions, they're just, oh, let's watch this video. Oh, okay, well, we got a video on this. So Watchtower has completely centralized their control, and in fact, in some ways, they've made it a little bit easier for the person that is presenting the part, because you'd get a letter and it would say, okay, find a single sister that has at least 3 kids and has been pioneering for at least 10 years and is also wears blue. Like, it's really difficult sometimes to find the right candidate if you were the one assigned to giving a part on the assembly or the convention, because you're like, oh boy, well, where am I going to find this person? Like, it's going to be really difficult to find this exact scenario. So when they just condense it and they can just control everything themselves, it makes it a lot easier on their part, because, hey, story doesn't have to be true, story doesn't have to be real, they can doctor it however they want, and it will be the exact same message that will go out to everyone. And I guess one other major change was the meetings. So I think we all remember book study. Yes, book study was one of my personal favorite meetings, because it was a chance where, because of, being anxious around a lot of people, and that just doesn't really sit well with me. It was a chance where you sat down with, 15, 20 people versus 100 to 150 people. So I was always a lot more comfortable in those circumstances, obviously. But they got rid of that and instituted this whole family worship evening thing. Now, the real reason why they got rid of book study, that's up in the air. We don't really know. I'm of the opinion that there was more time and more closeness within a group, that people would actually share their honest opinions. So if they disagreed with something, I think they'd be more likely to share that information at the book study versus doing it at a congregation meeting. So I think there was just a little bit more exchange and back and forth talking about the material versus just the pure question and answer format. But anyway, so those are some of the major changes. Obviously, there's a lot more. If you guys have some of your favorites, comment down below. But what does this all mean? For those of you that have stuck around for me rambling on for this long, you can have a little insight into Wally's brain. So what does this all mean? I'm not shocked, but I found it curious. So the video that was released, I don't know when this one's going to be released, but the one that was released yesterday had a quick little snippet from someone that was also in the Gilead graduation. And that person then at the Gilead graduation was announced to be going to the branch committee. So they were on the broadcasting in October or November, and then they do the Gilead graduation, and then now that person is on the branch committee. And it was like, huh, that's a little bit interesting. I wouldn't have caught that or thought about that before, but because I recorded the video so long ago and then released it, anyway, I was able to make the connection. But it made me wonder, is there another fundamental change about to happen? Did we go from the Watchtower era to the JW.org era? And are we going to have another takeover by the younger coming up elders, branch committee members, and whatnot? Is that what's really happening right in front of us, and we're just not quite realizing it, or we can't really have enough information to put all the pieces together? So going back to the very first point I made was about the elders. Hey, let's get these elders that are younger and younger and younger, even in their early 20s. Are they trying to just silence or get rid of all of the old heads? Because think about it like this. If you've been in the organization since the 80s or the 70s, and you've been an elder for that long, you know all of the changes and shifts that have happened. And that, you don't shake that off easily. Anyone that's been an elder for more than 20 or 30 years, you are going to remember all of these changes that the organization is going through. I remember my grandpa and just trying and struggling and disliking and completely, bitching about always having to keep track of his passwords and this, that, and the third, and always having to help him with his computer stuff. So is it going to be, and my grandpa, I think he was a presiding overseer, a coordinator of, he was a presiding overseer when a presiding overseer was still a thing. So he's been an elder forever. And I think they want to silence those voices or start getting rid of them, as it were, or they can maybe step down or take a lesser role. They can still be elders, but maybe when you have more elders that are younger, it's going to be easier to adopt to this new form of Watchtower. So if I had to make a prediction, is the Watchtower is going to not be functioning as it does, as we know it today, in another 10 years. I think in 10 years' time, we are going to see a internet-based organization. I think most of their work is going to be all done online, and it kind of makes sense. They send someone to knock on people's doors, and instead of talking to people like they used to, now show them a video. So why not just produce the video? And you can eliminate the person having to go and knock on the other person's door. I foresee a future where Watchtower becomes just a online propaganda machine, or that's how they want to see themselves. And as far as the next crop of leaders, or the people that are going to control the organization, obviously they will have to get rid of 1914. They'll have to get rid of the faithful and discreet slave parable meaning anything today. They'll have to get rid of the whole generation thing. And once they get rid of all of those, they're just going to basically function as any other church that's out there. So I think it'll be very fascinating to see the exact direction that the organization goes. But I think just researching this for a couple days and seeing the shift that they made and how it's fundamentally a religion that is unrecognizable to the one that it was 20 years ago. And that was unrecognizable to the religion it was 80 years before that. So there was a period of time where I believe that there was some kind of reasonable stasis for longer than normal, and now everything is just going online. Everything is just going to be JW.org and JW Stream. And I think that's going to be the next phase of Watchtower's existence, if they have an existence altogether. Alright, well, that ends my weird ranting about the transitions and some of the things that Watchtower has done to go from one model to another model, and hey, maybe what their next one is going to be. So I think internet organization, internet religion, that's absolutely going to be the next meta, so we will see how it all shakes out. Anyway, with all of that being said, if you're wondering how this thing got here, well, that's going to be our wicked stunt, is creating a new prop, a new toy for ZZ to play with. So join me as we put that together now. Alright, so for today's wicked stunt, we are going to be putting in the thing that you've seen this entire video, or maybe not the entire video, because maybe ZZ will manage to pull it down, is some little toy that hangs from the ceiling. So we are going to do we are going to be once again resurrecting Construction Cam, but this time it'll be Construction Cam for ZZ's toy. If you guys want to know how fast I can do a slip knot, you're going to be impressed. Alright, you guys know what a slip knot is? Okay, you guys ready for this? Watch closely, I'll do a little zoom in on my hands. Oh, it was so slow! That was terrible. Okay, let me do one more. Okay. Slipknot speed run. Timer starts now. Ooh, that one was good. That was a good one. We'll accept that. I think I should be able to do a slipknot on a ping pong ball. Now, for those of you that don't know, ZZ's favorite toy in the whole world is a ping pong ball. He carries them around in his mouth, he drops them inside the bathtub, and then he gets to bop it around. So my thinking is, we're going to hang a ping pong ball with a slipknot that hangs kind of loosely, and then we'll be able to bop it from the ceiling. See that slipknot? Speed running. If anyone can tie a slipknot faster than me, which I don't know what like the official recording would be, I'd be very curious to know, because I think I've pretty much mastered it. And one of these wicked stunts, you'll see my yo-yoing skills, which are kind of insane. And that's why we made it long. That's what she said. And that will be the wicked stunt. Will ZZ play with this dangling ping pong ball? I think everyone probably knows the answer to that question. Bueller. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're still around. You're definitely subscribed. You're definitely liked the video and all that good stuff. Thank you so much. ZZ's already playing with it, and we will see you next time.